So I walked around today looking a bit goofy with some noise-canceling headphones on and imagining that it was 2067. And I haven't had that much fun in so long. Some of you who live here may know that I do most of my work right now in Alberta. I'm working on climate policy and chairing a table of oil industry and Indigenous leaders and community leaders and environmental leaders trying to develop and implement climate policy in a region that is dependent on oil and gas. And it's not quite as fun as this, actually. Last week there was a debate in the legislature, actually, of whether me as chair is appropriate and whether I'm building dialogue and solutions or whether I'm an eco-terrorist. That was fun to watch with my kids. So thank you, Michael. Being in 2067 and focusing on renewable energy is a little like therapy. So I'm going to keep you with me as we think about 2067. So I walked around today and I imagined that it was 2067, so I was 98 years old, and it was 50 years from now. And what we're talking about, what we're working towards here over the next couple of days and in our lifetimes had worked. And it had come true. And so we've heard a lot tonight about how our cities now in 2067 are clean, they're safe, they're peaceful, they're resilient, they're powered by renewable energy, they're silent. Thank goodness that we learned years ago, oh, and this is where I should have this clicker. So thank goodness that we learned years ago from studying natural systems that there's strength in diversity. Our cities today have stronger energy systems because they're so diverse, not just in how we generate energy, not just in the technologies we use, but a result of simultaneously celebrating and encouraging cultural diversity and ensuring that we tackled power redistribution, but in every sense of that term, that more people benefited. And the policies that we put in place simultaneously addressed social inequalities. And as a result, we built stronger communities because we didn't allow the issues to be siloed. We've heard a lot tonight about the technologies that we now have in 2067. And we are so lucky that there has been and continues to be so much innovation. Technology has played such an important role, and it's so cool that sometimes that's all we focus on. But when I reflect back on our journey, now that I am at 98, and I think about the cities I lived in 50 years ago, what I think about is how incredible the cities have changed how we engage with each other, how we engage with the issues, how we engage with nature, how our lived experience affects how we think, because it does. If we are connected and we know where our power comes from, if we're connected to our food systems, if we're connected to each other, what happens? When we're more connected to how we produce and use energy, more connected to our food, more connected to each other, we care. We care, and we want to engage in the big stuff. A good lived experience changes how we engage. It changes our relationship to nature. It changes our willingness to act to something that is bigger than ourselves. We need innovations in technology to be accompanied with advances in how we address the social, economic, and political conditions in our cities to make a meaningful transition to renewables. What you may not know, now that it's 2067, is that back then in 2017, we were experiencing a rather well-funded and organized resistance against limiting the use of fossil fuels, I know, it's surprising today in 2067, but we were. And as governments and business and civil society sought to implement these solutions that we're all here talking about, they were contentious. And sometimes they were imperfect. Because solutions are. They address something, they're often imperfect, right? So the critics poked holes. Opponents tried to capitalize on those imperfections. They polarized our communities. It pulled us apart instead of bringing us together. Those who were embedded in the fossil fuel present and didn't want us to move to a 100% renewable future played on people's fears. So what happened? Some really strong and visionary and dedicated folks stood up. They stood up, but all too often there weren't enough of them. Because the majority turned away. It seemed a little contentious, too complicated. It was hard to see the big picture. They worried about today for good reason, and they had trouble thinking about tomorrow. The amazing thing is that the changes municipal governments were at the forefront of leading engaged us all in the creation of energy, in the growing of food, in each other. They engaged us in the issues. It helped ensure not only that more people were engaged, but we had a vision. We started to have a vision for 100% renewables, and that vision created a common purpose. Because let's be clear, we need a vision, not just problems and technological solutions. We need a vision. We needed a vision back there, back then. So why did that happen? It happened in part because municipal governments realized that they have the largest power source at their fingertips because the majority of the world's population lives in cities. And that power is people. And to engage people, municipal leaders realized you can't silo the issues. People like the idea of renewable energy. They do. They like the idea of those cool electric cars. They do. They also like affordability, equity, clean drinking water, and livability as keys to a renewable future, as keys to a future with a stable climate. And that's what cities did. They didn't silo it, they connected it. They connected it, and then they connected us. And we had a vision. We had a vision for 100%. And it happened because cities and states and companies had the audacity, like way back then, 50 years ago in 2017, to say that it could be 100%. To create a vision calling for 100%. To have a dream and not just a problem. They had the audacity and the willingness to connect the issues and lead, even though it was hard and sometimes it seemed easier to not connect the issues. They had the courage to tackle the hard stuff and see the big picture. And you know, a fascinating thing happened because it inspired others to act. When cities acted, then companies started acting. Then more people started engaging, because you know what? It's fun. It's fun to be at a party. It's fun to be on the winning side. So more and more people engaged. Thousands of citizens, in fact, engaged. So what did it take? Well, looking back, I think it took vision. It took leadership. It took courage. And, you know, that's the fascinating thing about courage. Well, courage is contagious. And back then in 2017, that's what we needed. We didn't just need technology. We didn't just need smart policy. We needed vision and courage. And that's how we did it.